I'm your host, Arosh. I'm really excited to be bringing content to you in a space I've really come to love, and I hope I'm able to bring that passion to these discussions. While we wait for few more people to join, let me just reiterate the whole purpose behind this project. Since DeFi is very new to the Icon ecosystem, we saw that for the majority of users, Balanced was the first DeFi protocol they've been exposed to. So Daiki, for those of who may not know, is the co-founder of Home Finance. Thought learning resources and discussion boards such as this channel needed to be there to give Icon users more exposure into DeFi, and that's really how the project came into being. Whilst DeFi is new, exciting, and is extremely high growth potential, Home Finance and the other DeFi protocols within Icon, probably won't grow without an informed user base that has a broader and a deep understanding of DeFi beyond Icon, and that's what we really want to achieve. We want to expose everyone to a DeFi ecosystem in Ethereum, with the main focus in Ethereum and Icon, because this is for the Icon and Home Finance ecosystem, and also other like Solana and Binance Smart Chain and other blockchain networks as well. So we've planned a weekly series of discussions. I want to make it as informal as possible, where we just come and just hang out and learn and talk DeFi. But the first couple of discussions will be learning based, so it'll be less discussion and more content oriented. So let's get to the agenda for today. Let me just share my screen. Yep. All right, you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Great. So basically, the focus areas what I really want to focus on for this discussion today is, for those of you who don't know, the topic of discussion is an introduction to DeFi. So I will start off very briefly talking about traditional finance or tradfi. I won't dwell too much into tradfi because we are exposed to this on a daily basis. So I'll keep it very short on that front, and then I'll transition into cefi, centralized finance, and talk about its characteristics, its advantages, its disadvantages, how to identify a cefi product. I'll just walk you through a couple of examples, and then the real business end of this event or discussion is going to be on DeFi. How to identify different DeFi protocols, its advantages and disadvantages, and then if I have time, I would just kind of compare the yields from cefi and DeFi products that's available to users, and then finally I'll talk about cedefi and really open it up for discussion and Q&A. Just one point I want to really mention is, if anyone has any questions, just because this is the first discussion, I would rather keep it for the discussion at the end. But if you have a really important question, I wouldn't stop you from asking. So feel free to ask if you have a very important question, but I would suggest to leave it for the discussion at the end. Right. So let me get to the topic. First topic today is on traditional finance, or tradfi. I want you to think about, for me to explain about traditional finance, and I know you know it already, but for me to transition to DeFi, cefi, I want you to think about fiat money. I want you to think about money as a body which has multitude of capabilities and use cases. So it's really the lifeblood of the financial services. So if you track the flow of money, you'll understand traditional finance better, and it's easier. So say you want to park your just go to screen. Sorry about that. Yeah. So say you want to park your money, you want to borrow or take out a mortgage, or just invest your money. You have an investment. You have an investment bank and a retail bank. You want to insure your assets or or your money. You go for insurance. You want to make international money transfers. There are specific institutions for that,
Who's
yeah. Yeah, are you all seeing the screen all right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So if you want to buy stocks, derivatives, or commodities, you have obviously brokerages and exchanges. So all this amalgamated together, you have the traditional finance system. They're centralized and regulated by a series of government regulators, and obviously have a strict KYC or know your customer controls. So I want you to start thinking about these traditional pillars of trading, banks, insurance, payments. Think about that, and then think about how we can transition into a world of centralized finance and decentralized finance. So I'll just keep the traditional finance just to that, and I'll move straight into centralized finance. So what is centralized finance? Um, so this is the entire set of like new digital blockchain based banks that are centralized and regulated. It is generally the name given to centralized crypto exchanges and custodians like the Binances and the Krakens and the Coinbases. Um, so it's essentially any company offering TradFi services using blockchain technology, smart contracts, um, and um, uh, smart contracts, uh, pretty much with a centralized authority. So that's essentially what cefi is. But the definition aside, for you to really understand the definition, I need to take you through uh, a, uh, a website. So let me just quickly take you through finance. So if you go to I've just signed in already. But the first thing obviously you notice in a cefi product is that there's easy fiat onboarding mechanism. So a DeFi product is obviously a crypto to crypto, a crypto onboarding mechanism. But on a cefi product like Binance, there is a crypto element and a fiat element of it. So a first observation is obviously you see a credit card, debit card option, you see bank transfers option. So uh, this is one element where you obviously going to see it's cefi. The next characteristic is obviously I've logged in, but is KYC, know your customer. So in Binance, all you need to do is register through an email and a password. So an email in itself is a form of KYC, because that email address you can find certain details about yourself right now on the internet if you really put your email address. So um, um, even to the extent of an email address is a form of KYC. So that's and of course, if you want additional withdrawal and deposit limits, then obviously you need to have passport verification and address verification and things like that. So you're essentially linking your account to an actual person for regulatory requirements. So that's another key characteristic of a CFI or TradFi product. Um, Another characteristic when using CFI is giving up custody of your crypto, and that's the fundamental difference between a CFI product and a DeFi product, among the other two I just mentioned. So right now, I will explain a bit more on giving up custody or self custody in the DeFi section. But for now, one way of identifying if a protocol or a website, you have to give up custody or self custody is just go over to the fiat spot section. Let me just give you an example of Binance. So let me just quickly take you through, say, if I go to Ethereum, for example, if I want to deposit. So right away, let me just quickly refresh this. Something's got stuck. Yep, sorry. Yeah, so you automatically have your address showing up, but there's no place whatsoever that talks about your private key or your public key or both. So your private key is the most important thing when you talk about self custody. So for now, I will just mention to you how you find out whether it's a private key or your just your address. But if it doesn't say anywhere your private key is, you have control of your private key, then it's a dead giveaway that it's you have to give up you don't have control of your wallet. So yeah, so that's the point on other characteristics. The one final characteristic which you probably won't see just by looking at the website is is synonymous with the cefi product, which is the central authority of control. So if you see on the website any mention of AGMs, director board or things like that, then obviously those are signs of a central authority, having controlling the company. Let me just go back to the presentation. So in terms of advantages, so obviously, as I mentioned, it's easy to deposit and withdraw fiat. So if you need to convert your crypto without cefi, this would not be possible without a fiat gateway. And the use case of DeFi in its current context will not develop without cefi, because obviously if there's no fiat, if you can't sell your cryptos, there's not going to be as much adoption as what it should be. One caveat, obviously, I need to mention is that there are certain countries, that fiat onboarding is extremely difficult, especially in South Asia and in certain countries. But by and large, you can always use a debit card, credit card, bank transfers to deposit and withdraw crypto. The other advantage, obviously, as is it's simple to use. For new users, crypto cefi offers the best onboarding experience because it's the most user friendly, and conceptually it doesn't really impose itself with technical crypto jargon when compared to a DeFi protocol. So, guys, anyone struggling to understand or use a cefi app, you might want to spend a bit more time using the cefi app and being comfortable before you actually venture into a DeFi protocol. And obviously another advantage, obviously, is no risk of losing private keys. That's simple, isn't it? I mean, if you don't have access to your private keys, you don't have to worry about losing them. So the headache entailed with having self custody of your crypto can be scary sometimes, especially when you're transferring crypto. I still get it. I still withdraw and deposit. I still have to check it about 100 times before I transfer things out. So, but also please note, just because you don't have access to your private keys doesn't mean a bad actor cannot get access to your crypto through your negligence. Say, for example, if your account passwords are compromised, you may be at risk from losing your crypto, or you could make errors by transferring to incompatible wallets or sending to wrong addresses. Guys, just also as a side note, when you're using a cefi product, I've seen many times that you lot of people don't use or activate the highest security features of a cefi app. For example, two-factor authority and things like that. So I suggest you strongly, if the security features are available, they're there for a reason. Please make use of it. Um, yeah. So, and the other advantage, obviously, it's highly regulated, and there's extensive due diligence. I mean, it may not be music to the ears of a retail investor like you or me, but this is extremely important for an institutional investor. KYC, AML are important strategy requirements. So CeFi will play a big part, huge part in the transformation of traditional finance because of institutional investors. So, government bodies constantly have strict, financial requirements and restrictions to ensure that, exchanges have sufficient asset backing to ensure that they remain solvent. Uh, Also, customer support. Customer support available, which can help with on account recovery. If you forget your passwords and things like that. You may be wondering. I mean, customer support is a standard feature. You get it in DeFi products also as well. But when I once says, obviously you guys, most of you guys have used DeFi, so there's no I've lost my private key. Please send my private key. I need to restore my account. Those advantages you don't get in a DeFi product. So CeFi is a godsend in those circumstances. So in terms of disadvantages, obviously it's a single point of failure. So if a CEO or key holder, goes missing, or funds could get locked up, and withdrawals, suspended without notice. I mean, we've had a plethora of instances in the past. Most high profile is the Mount Gox incident in 2014. Yeah, so you're pretty much extremely helpless, at the mercy of the CeFi product to act in an ethical manner. So you need to ensure, or you need to just make sure what kind of audits they do, and make sure that that stringent audits frequently take place. At least you should be able to ask them or question them in terms of what kind of audits that does take place. In terms of now disadvantages, obviously it's prioritizes profit maximizing. I mean, I'm not to say that DeFi products or protocols, don't think about profits. They do, but profit maximizing from a shareholder's perspective in a company environment is much more rampant than in a DeFi product, which is DAO based and which is for the community. So a community has a lot more say. So they're not as profit driven as an entity based product like a CeFi product. And also high compliance costs. There's tight regulation in DeFi, so that always entails bigger costs to make sure that CeFi products comply with the regulations. And also, compared to DeFi, there's so many layers. It's less. How do you say? It's less obviously blockchain oriented and smart contract. It's not smart contract oriented. So the workforce is much more in a CeFi product, which obviously makes fees more expensive and whole admin costs more expensive. So it's more costly than a DeFi protocol to manage and run. So yeah, so that's about it for CeFi. Now is kind of the business end of the discussion. So what is decentralized finance or DeFi? Decentralized finance is pretty much, as it says, is all services in tradfi, that kind of utilizes blockchain technology, cryptography, and smart contracts, without the need of a third party. That's essentially what DeFi is. But as I told you on the cefi, the definition is not enough. You need to. I'm going to take you through how to identify a DeFi product and its characteristics. Before I do that, I just wanted to harp on this point of without the need of third parties. That's fundamentally important to understanding the characteristics of DeFi. So without a central body or authority, you get some key features. You get transparency and trustlessness. You get it's permissionless, it's censorship resistant, it's programmable, and decentralized. So what do all these fancy words mean? I mean, if there are no third parties, if there's no central authority, who handles everything? Who executes transactions? Well, in terms of who handles things, it's run by smart contracts, or the raw code or the bytecode. It basically automatically executes according to the conditions and logic embedded in the code. So hence the characteristic programmable and decentralized, as it's not controlled by anyone, and it's not managed by private keys. It's managed by the smart the code of the smart contract. So the blockchain tech network is also, it's not hosted on a centralized server like Amazon or Google or whatever other popular centralized servers out there. It's on a network of many decentralized nodes. So the more the nodes of a network has, the more decentralized the network is. And that is why Ethereum and Bitcoin, are considered the most decentralized networks out there, because there's simply so much of nodes, so much of decentralization of people running nodes on those networks. Now, you may think DeFi is all DeFi, it's all decentralized, but although the blockchain is not on a centralized server, a lot of people actually think the website of a DeFi protocol, is also on a blockchain. I've seen that a lot of this confusion on this point, even as recently as Uniswap incident, where they prevented certain coins, they delisted certain coins. So even I've mentioned a tweet from Hayden Adams in the agenda list, so you can have a go through of that as well. So basically, the website or protocol is still hosted on a centralized server, and everything that happens in the backend process is separate from that. Even if the server goes down or gets hacked, or all transactions on the blockchain, stay safe. There's nothing to worry about it. So yes, the element of centralization is there in the website, but that's in the front end. The back end is completely separate from the front end. So the reason why websites and even Facebook and social media websites, are not on the blockchain boils down to how blockchains and smart contracts function. And although yes, I mean, you could build websites and social media apps using blockchain and smart contracts, but it's not financially viable for the user currently. In the future, things may change, but currently it's not financially viable exercise for end users. And also it gives a slower user experience, especially the process of interacting with the protocol, interacting with the network. So for example, each time a website is updated, with new content, or say for example, user wants to post a tweet or like something, that entails the smart contract to get altered. And what happens when the smart contract gets altered? You need a transaction. There's gas fees or transaction fees, what you want to call it. Imagine used on Ethereum, kind of each time you tweet, there's a gas fee. It's going to be mayhem. No one's going to use it. It's going to be redundant. So as things stand right now, and also whenever you need to create a transaction object from the back end, interacting with it, it takes some seconds. It's not a seamless exercise. So I don't want to go into too much detail. I'm pretty much deviating from it, but I think it's important for you all to know this point, because a lot of people don't really know about it on that. But if you really want to know, more about, Solidity and smart contracts, Solidity obviously is a programming language in Ethereum, and since ICE, will be on Ethereum and Solidity, I think I've just mentioned. I've just put a link on the agenda. It's a paid tutorial, but I'm not even finished to it. I'm almost done on it, but it's a very helpful. It's on Udemy. It's a very good course. Sorry, deviate on that. And another key feature of DeFi is it's transparent. So all transactions are there for everyone to see. It's there forever. It cannot be erased unless, of course, you get a hold of like all the nodes in the network. You need to remove it from all the nodes if you want to remove the transaction, which is not practical. A DeFi protocol is permissionless, because anyone can use DeFi protocol. This is a very powerful thing. There is no credit rating. There is no you have to be 18 plus to take a loan. There's no you have to have a job. You're too old. It's inclusive. It lets anyone participate irrespective of race, of religion, of age, sex, nationality, whatever. It's inclusive. All you need is internet connection, a compatible wallet, that can interact with the particular protocol, and voila, you're in DeFi. So this is the power of DeFi. It has the power to be the most inclusive, equitable, financial architecture, that's ever created. And it's also, censorship resistant. Obviously, whatever regulation any government authority body attempts to bring in, it cannot be shut down. So these are the main characteristics of a DeFi product. Let me just show you how to kind of identify a DeFi product. I've just opened up certain things so that it makes things faster, so everyone knows about balanced. I'm sure. So the first thing that you notice is, if you go to the you get a sign in or connect to tab or button. So obviously, depending on DeFi protocol you're on, obviously balance is on Icon. So the wallets are IconX and the ledger. If you're on Ethereum, of course, there's MetaMask, and also there are multiple wallet tools that interact with multiple blockchains, hardware or software, like ledgers, trust wallets, etc. So this is example, Icon wallet and ledger. At this point, I also want to kind of mention about. I think it's important also just to mention it. I want you to bring the idea of an EOA and a contract account. So an EOA is an externally owned account. Basically, so when you're depositing crypto into a DeFi protocol, you're depositing into a contract account and not an EOA. Or if they advertise it's a DeFi protocol and you end up depositing into an EOA account which they have shown, you are more than likely to be scammed. I mean, it's very unlikely that's going to happen, but hypothetically that could happen. So an EOA account is like what you or me use, which is governed by the private keys. And obviously, as I mentioned, those that have the private keys control the assets in that address. Whilst a contract address is not governed by a private key, but instead, managed by the raw contract code. And once that a contract is deployed, that can't be changed. So I just want to quickly mention, how you can identify it. So obviously the Icon blockchain, obviously you can identify just by looking at the first two letters of the contract whether it's a contract or a EOA account. So I'm just on the Balance website. So if you just go to the tracker, let me just click the tracker. Yep, there you go. It's contract. And obviously, say for example, if you want to go to an UA account, it starts with HX. So that's one easy way of identifying it in on Icon. If you're on Ethereum and if you want to find out, whether it's a contract account or a EOA account, obviously you need to go to a block explorer. So I couldn't mention. So Icon Watch is a block explorer for Icon, so you get Etherscan for Ethereum. So you just need to go to before you obviously before you sense anything, if you can go to the let me just go to address. Yep. So this is a typical EOA account. If you want to see, obviously, if you want to see a contract account on, you can't really look at this and say if it's a contract account or EOA. So Ribbon Finance is another, it's a DeFi product which I use quite frequently on Ethereum. It's an option based. So if you just click on it, yeah, so it says right away it's a contract. So that's just one simple way of identifying. I just want to bring your attention just to the two different things. I think it's important if you're using DeFi just to understand or know the difference between an EOA account and a contract account. And of course, if you're an advanced programmer, I mean, the main reason all DeFi protocols they publish all their contract addresses, everything, so that you can do if you want, you can do your own audits, or you can interact directly with the contract. You don't need to go to the website and log in or deposit. You can just directly from a MetaMask or from Icon, you can directly interact with the smart contract. And of course, you can do your audits and see if you are savvy on it. You can see whether if there's vulnerability for bugs. You can do your own security audits. So the other key feature. Sorry to keep deviating, but I think it's important to mention that. So the other key feature of a DeFi product, one way you can identify it is there's no form of KYC or AML. I mean, not even a simple thing of putting your name or email address. There's no such thing. So that's a key. If there's any protocol that says advertises themselves as a DeFi and asks for your email address or even your name, that's not a DeFi protocol. So that's another example. So technically, we are all ninjas we're super anonymous in the DeFi game. So that's a key feature of DeFi. The other thing is obviously there's higher yields as opposed to tradfi. So when you compare with your savings account and things like that, obviously you get better returns on that point. On that. So but one thing I want to kind of mention to you guys is although you get higher returns compared to tradfi, I'm just talking about just on savings. I'm not talking about yield farming and things like that right now, but just on the surface, you get better returns. But you need to understand the risk involved. I will be introducing like yield farming strategies and things that further down the line in our discussions as we go on. But for now, know that if protocols are advertising exorbitant APYs, please do not invest or deposit in the protocol until you understand the risks involved fully. Please understand, I'm not saying it's a scam, but you need to have understanding of what you're doing, because losing money without knowing, or things like impermanent loss and things like that, you need to at least know on the surface before you invest in the protocol. I mean, there's some nice videos out there. People at Finematics do some nice videos. I think even Fezbox on crypto setups also do some nice videos on DeFi products and certain risks involved as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much the characteristics, and how do you identify them if it's DeFi. The other, I just want to quickly go through the advantages and disadvantages. Daiki, am I going overboard in terms of time, or are we good?
I think maybe next 5 minutes or so, and then we can start Q&A in next 5 minutes, maybe afterwards.
Cool. So yeah. So the point obviously is the advantages obviously is self custody. So as I mentioned, there's no private key. I wanted to quickly show you a quick diagram of the contract addresses and the differences. So I will leave that for now, because I'll just go over if I talk about breaking down the public key and private key. But for now, kind of understand that if you obviously there are slight variations from blockchains, but like the account address is pretty much like the email address, which can be sent to anyone to receive funds and tokens. The public key and the private key together form the password. So so the private key generates a signature, and the public key verifies that signature. So that's how the blockchain understands that you are you and you have access to your crypto, because although it's a wallet, it's technically not in a wallet, it's on the blockchain, so things need to be verified, and highest of security encryptions need to take place. So yeah. So obviously it's inclusive, and obviously there's no discrimination. It's not controlled by a central authority, which is really good. Especially if you've experienced, all these things about scams and things like that, and not being socially responsible rather than they talk about profit making. Obviously, it's cheaper, leaner, and it's an efficient model. Yeah. And also there's active participation through a DAO. Obviously not all DEXs are DAO, but it doesn't have to be. But I will talk about a lot. I will leave that for now, because there's a separate section we're going to talk about later on a DAO. The other advantage for a first-time user, obviously responsibility of own private keys. I think I've explained it quite a bit, so I won't mention it anymore. No recourse to funds. So yeah, so if you lose your private key, if you send to a wrong address, there is no liability, there is no responsibility the DeFi protocol will take up, as opposed to a cefi product, which usually has a recourse to funds if it gets hacked and things like that. But right now, DeFi product, there is insurance coming along, but it's still very, very in its early stages. So there are certain drawbacks of that. There's lack of regulation, and obviously, if it's an Ethereum-based DeFi product, it's relatively high gas fees. Sometimes exorbitant high gas fees, which not possible to even use. Let me just quickly run through. I won't. Just for example, just for your knowledge, I just took this off. I've shared this also in the link. This is Kraken's latest report. They just compared just the lending APYs of cefi products, DeFi products compared to the traditional finance system. So you can see cefi offers the best returns in terms of just savings. So obviously, guys, this doesn't factor in, DeFi doesn't factor in obviously the liquidity mining and things like the returns you get from protocols rewarding their own native coins and things like that. But just right off the bat, in terms of saving, or say for example your DAI, I think that's the best indicator to compare. cefi offers higher returns, mainly because, of course, as I mentioned, on the point of, they're better at obviously they hire better fees, they're more profitable, and they can fund higher returns, as opposed to a DeFi protocol, which is much more about cutting costs and maintaining an efficient system. So the returns are slightly lower, but you can see a DeFi protocol always maintains better than a savings or treasury bills investing and things like that. So yeah, just this last point on cedefi. I just want to quickly mention about that because that's a hot topic. So basically, a cedefi is, as the name suggests, centralized, decentralized finance. Is basically a protocol which has a mix of cefi features and DeFi features. So that's the trend right now. You see the Aves, you see even compound with their products like treasury. They have a certain elements of cefi. And for example, Ohm, which is also coming out, has a fiat onboarding. It's not a direct fiat onboarding, but through USDS, US stably. Obviously, you need to deposit dollars. So if you're depositing dollars and you're getting USDS in return, obviously it's a fiat based. It's a non-algorithmic stablecoin. So cedefi is pretty much coined by the term brought by CZ of Binance. He's one who first coined the term cedefi. It basically cedefi platforms usually users can usually enjoy flexibility of cefi and a high APR of DeFi when you factor in the the tokens, rewards, and things like that. The way I see it basically has potential solutions for two major concerns. Firstly, it removes the growing mistrust against traditional or centralized intermediaries, and also it creates kind of an ideal launchpad, for DeFi products and application to be integrated into the mainstream financial system. So as I mentioned, Aave is basically launching Aave Pro, basically which has a KYC process inbuilt, just to satisfy or get institutional investors comfortable in using DeFi products. Obviously, I don't want to go too much. I can go on if you want, but I don't want to run too much along. I can mention in the next discussion the things I missed out.
Yeah, I think this is maybe a good time to stop, and then we can probably continue in the next session next week. But maybe if anyone has questions, it'd be good to ask. I think this would be a good time to ask questions.
Sorry, I was rambling a lot, so sorry if I bored anyone.
And then I think if you're shy, which I've noticed in the last AMA, you can also just ask questions in the DeFi Academy channel as well.
Let me just turn off the screen.
Maybe while others maybe thinking of a question, I'll ask you one question. Or how did you first get involved in DeFi, and what do you think? What do you think people first way of getting involved with DeFi is usually?
Oh well, I mean, as I said in my discussion, the points. I first got it obviously through Binance. I started using their products. I mean, cefi based products and things like that. And then even before that, obviously, Binance Smart Chain is a new thing. But I started using Comp. Was one of the first products I used. I started using Aave. It helped that one of my friends obviously works in crypto, so he got me involved. So I started getting involved in 2017, which when DeFi wasn't really a thing. I think there's only like Maker and a few others that were there. So I think I started getting in DeFi probably in 2018. I think. So yeah, so just getting comfortable with it, just researching. YouTube helps a lot, and Twitter, and Google. So that's how I first got involved. Like played around, watched a lot of videos, and just got comfortable with it. Experimented. Uh, Lost a bit of money here and there, but that's I think part of the process.
Right, but were you mainly trying to like use Compound? Like, was that how you first got exposed to DeFi?
Yeah. Well, not first. It was first practical use of where I used it actually was Compound. Yeah.
And why were you trying to use Compound?
That's a good question. No, I mean, firstly, I mean, it's just about just I just deposited and saved. I mean, I was only invested in Ethereum at the time, so and I just deposited a bit of Ethereum and started playing around with it. No particular reason, and then I started for moving with Aave and things like that.
Got it. Cool. Anyone else has any questions? All right. If not, I think we can wrap up as well. Maybe just like one final question before we wrap up. I mean, you were kind of getting into cedefi, and you kind of cover cefi and DeFi. Who do you think are a good fit for cefi and DeFi and cedefi?
You mean the user base or a person who would
User base, yeah.
Obviously, a new user is I would recommend cefi. Get comfortable with it, and obviously the interface is very user friendly. I mean, if you go to Aave and things like that, sometimes it can be daunting, kind of understanding the risk factors and risk elements of it. So I would think cefi for the new user, DeFi for a semi-experienced user. I think DeFi offers now, you can just deposit, supply liquidity, or I mean, just supply your crypto there and just earn returns or even stablecoin returns. So I think it's relatively safe, especially the main protocols like Aave and Compound or Maker and Balance. I mean, on Icon Balance and things like that. So and in terms of cedefi, it all depends on if you're asking me a person who's experienced and wants to find it all comes down to where the best returns are and where the risk elements are minimized. So it all depends on if cedefi is offering better returns. It's about crop rotation, yield farming, and things like that. So if you're experienced, I think cedefi is good, and even for a new user, I think cedefi, and for institutions, cedefi is fantastic because although this academy is based on DeFi. I'm not. This is not to say that cefi is bad. It is a very, very important, and cedefi has very, very important use cases, or has a part to play in the overall transition.
All right, that's it. Last questions from the audience before we wrap up. Think we're good, Arish?
All right. Yeah, I mean, Daiki, if you guys, I'm all ears for for feedback. maybe things that we can tweak out for the next session. Just pretty much how we can improve pretty much.
Yep, sounds good.
All right,
Thank you so
guys.
much for hosting. Yep, and prepping. This is good. Hopefully it was also helpful for others who joined the session as well.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, bye.